Are you ready to play? Here's your toy. You ready to play? There's a toy. Get that toy. Yeah, get that toy. Whoa, so strong. Oh, so strong. Was a strong puppy. Whoa. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Yes, you. Go down here. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Good girl. I did it. Oh. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Oh. Listen. Push. Push now. Ready to go. Oh, man. Oh, girl. Oh. Are you all done, Tug? Kisses all done, Tug. You want more Tug? Set. No, you change your mind. You all done, Tug? Okay. We do treats in a little bit. Go lay down. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Follow the Dogi. I'm Daisy. This is Waffles, my dog, and we are going to show you how to do some animal-assisted yoga. So, specifically, we're going to teach you how animal-assisted yoga improves hip health and hip mobility overall. So, this is, last week we talked about how hip health does actually impact your knee health, and how when your hips aren't in the best, they're not super mobile, you don't have a lot of mobility in them, then it impacts chronic pain in your knees, but it also impacts chronic pain in your back. And the reason why is because your hips they're a very, very complex joint. They have over 21 muscles connected to your hips. They all serve all sorts of different purposes. We've got our adductor in the center that control adduction, moving your leg in from the outside. We've got your abductors that are closer to the outside that help pull your leg out, like your gluteus muscles. And they also help you move your hips backwards. So your muscles are going to help your legs move in all directions, but your hip muscles also stabilize your spine. So if you're not using your hips as much when you move, then you're compensating with your lower back. And that's where a lot of low back pain comes from. So hip mobility exercises, any kind of hip mobility exercises, are going to help ease a lot of chronic pain throughout your life. And you really just want to do anything that is fun for you. Playing with your dog is very fun. Playing with your cat is fun. These kind of things, like, we tend to get animals that we enjoy playing with. So animal-assisted yoga is how we combine those two things. We combine mobility exercises with play, and then we get to have this fun, engaging experience that also helps to make our bodies feel better in the day-to-day. I'm going to go ahead and put my hair up so that we can, or back rather, so that we can really demonstrate for you some of these games that we play and can help you at home with your hip mobility. My dog is food motivated, so I'm going to use some treats to make sure that she behaves the way that I'm expecting her to. She doesn't really like to tug while I'm talking. After you do teach your pet how to play these games, though, there are things that you can just move between these postures as you're playing tug. And at that point, your animal will be used to you doing these strange motions in close corners, and they're going to have just as much fun with you. They're going to be more focused on your body language than the specific shapes that you're making. And let me tell you, as you do this more and more, it becomes so much easier to express yourself through your body language as you're moving between shapes and postures than it does just randomly playing. You're so much more aware of your body, and it makes it so much easier to communicate with your animal. So the first thing that you can do with your animal to help improve hip mobility is you can move your hips through the sagittal plane, which is straight forward. We're just moving like this. We move back and forth, right? My favorite way to do that with Waffles is a little game we like to call jumping over the moon. So you come to a low lunge with one foot right inside that hand. So I'm starting with my left foot forward. So my left foot is right inside my left hand. Your back foot is going to be back. So whether that means that you come from standing and you step one foot back, then come down, or if you start on all fours and step one foot forward, it really doesn't matter. I just want you to start in this shape, this low lunge shape. You can scoot your foot back if you feel like that stretch here in your inner thigh and your inner hip is feeling nice and tasty to your body. That's going to reach your iliopsoas, which is a huge stabilizer and hip flexor. So it wraps around your spine to stabilize your back and helps to make it so that you don't have to overcompensate with your low back so much. And it also connects to your femur in here. So it helps to lift your leg upward from this extended position. And your pet can offer their weight here if you're not playing tug. So you still get this resistance as you're moving in and out of this position. And then once you can play tug here. Sometimes she wants to do this, but right now she's way more interested in the treats that are in my pocket. Or you can also have your pet give you a little bit of equilibrium training by trying to knock you off balance, or just by kind of launching themselves off of your leg here. So we call this pose low crescent lunge. And when they jump off it, it's like they're jumping over the moon. I don't know if that was a treat or not. I think that might have been dirt. Can you come over here? We'll show them a big jumping over the moon. Go around. So from low crescent lunge, you ask your pet to jump. And as they jump, you shift your hips back over your knee. Here. And as they jump, you shift your hips back over your knee and straighten that front leg. As much as you can, just whatever's comfortable. So when I first started playing this game, it would be more like shift hip over my knee, straighten a little bit. But what that does is it's going to create a lot more dynamic movement through your hip. You're also going to get a little bit of action through your hamstring as well. Yes, beautiful. Yes, you good girl. How about give me a sit? I'm going to explain this to our friends. Also, what moving from low lunge to pyramid does is it creates a lower platform for your pet to jump over with their back legs. Because, come over here, please. Pause. When their front legs are balancing on you, you can see they don't need to work to get these front legs to go the rest of the way over you. However, they need to be very aware of their hind legs as they lift them high enough to jump over you. So when we just go straight, Waffles, jump. You can see that it's more challenging for her to jump all the way over me. And to compensate for that, I have taught her to jump her booty out to the side and face me. The way that we do that is by holding a treat while we ask them to jump. Pause. And when we have the treat near us, they're going to naturally They're going to naturally want to keep their face turned towards the treat. So we're just going to encourage that. Jump. Waffles, jump. Good girl. So at that point, we don't really care about the direction. Over. Waffles, over here. Good girl. Sit. Good girl, sit. So once you do get the flexibility built up to be able to straighten your leg more, then they can start jumping all the way over. Jump. Waffles, jump. Good girl. So jumping over the moon is one of my favorite ways to start building mobility in the hips. You're low to the ground and go over here, please. You're low to the ground, and that gives you a lot of safety and space to sort of work into these muscles. Now, moving forward, the next game that is really, really helpful is what I call booty and balance. This helps move you through the sagittal plane, and it helps to build strength in your hips. It helps build strength through all three layers of your gluteus, as well as your rectus femoris. And good girl, I know. And your hamstrings and your quads. You're going to get a really great workout throughout your hip muscles and legs with this game, booty and balance. Waffles, come over here. So we start again in low lunge, but this time we're not going to ask our dog to jump over the moon. We're going to tuck that back toe and try to lift as high as we can against their weight. If your dog is not tall enough to comfortably hold this position, then you want to hold them instead and use their weight resistance that way. And now we want them to jump off over this way, because we want to straighten our leg into pyramid pose and hinge from our hips like this so that we can get a nice stretch through here. And we're also extending, we're extending our back hip and creating more dynamic movement through the front side that we were practicing flexion. And this is going to increase a lot of strength building. You'll really feel this in your ass. Yeah, you will, huh? And as you continue moving back and forth between these three postures, come over here. Okay, go over here. Try again. Thank you. As you continue moving back and forth between these three postures, off, good girl, under, good girl, down. Then you're going to be strengthening your gluteus maximus, your gluteus medius, your gluteus minimus, and everything in between, including your piriformis, which when that one gets tight, it can actually pinch your sciatic nerve. So there's a lot of different causes for sciatic nerve pain, but when we learn about one that we can avoid, it's a good one to do. Anything you do on one side, you always want to make sure that you do on the other. Because no matter how strong and flexible this one hip gets, you're not going to experience all of the benefits of having that increased mobility through your hips if you're not giving both sides of your body an equal chance to improve. Over here. Pause. Good girl. So we'll do all three on this side. Off, under, down. Good girl. Make sure that you're rewarding your dog as needed. Pause. Good girl. With your arms all the way up overhead, it helps you to really extend through your abdomen and your spine and make sure that all of that power is coming from your hips. Off. Good girl. Under. Down. Does anyone have any questions so far? All right, so that is a really great example of how animal-assisted yoga can help you to increase your hip mobility, is by practicing these asana games that I teach you with your animal's resistance. There are also some other ways that we can play, like you can actually move your hips through all three planes of motion while you're playing with your dog in order to really increase mobility. In fact, we have another game that we like to play. We call Dance of the Loyal Warrior, because we move through a lot of warrior poses, and it moves us through all three planes of motion. So the first one would be the frontal plane. We move through by stepping our feet all the way apart, just as much as is comfortable, but that's where your all the way is. And then you're going to go ahead and turn one foot out. Bend your knee over that ankle, arms out to the side, not your body, kind of towards that front hand, just as much as is comfortable. You're just looking for a little stretch in your neck right there. Waffles, this side. Thank you. And you can see your pet can also offer their weight here. I have those in my pocket. Yeah, I have them in my pocket. Crazy you didn't earn it yet. I was just showing you. This is a game that we often play tug with. She's obviously not interested in tug right now because we also have food out. But as I'm guiding her through these motions, through these movements, as I'm guiding her through these different ways to interact with me for treats in these postures, you can also imagine that we're playing tug. Pause. Good girl. So we start in Warrior 2. We move to Peaceful Warrior. This, because we've got to have our hand on that back leg anyway, it's a really good opportunity to grab a treat. Switch hands as we come to neutral. And then here we're going to give our animal some positive association with being in close corners. As we reach our opposite hand over top for an extended side angle, we'll feel the strengthening in this hip. Let's turn around so I can show you guys. Okay, we'll feel, so as we move into extended side angle, or what we call loyal warrior, we feel the strengthening in our flexed hip, and we feel a nice stretch from our lower hip all through our side body. Waffles over here, let's show them again. So you really want to be giving your pet a treat here, or at the very least off. Give them a treat immediately after they practice loyal warrior, because it's not natural for our pets to want to be in a combined position like that. It does help them, though, to create that sort of normalcy for that, because there are a lot of situations where they don't get a choice. When you go to the vet, a lot of times they have to hold your animal in odd positions while they examine them, and doing this kind of work with them is going to help them to have that be something that in the worst case scenario feels weird. In the best case scenario, they're excited about it because they know a treat's coming. We can talk about sweet potato in a little bit, but we're going to do pumpkin today. Would you like pumpkin? Do you want pumpkin today? Give me a kiss. All right, we are going to do pumpkin. I don't have a button for pumpkin yet. I should make one though. Waffles, come. So after we were to practice, come over here, please. Good girl. So after we do extended side angle, then here's where I move to Warrior 1. If you're not feeling super confident here, just ask your pet to get off. More often than not, that's what I do. Bring your hands to your hips. Waffles, sit. Thank you. And then take your back foot, turn it forward a little bit so that helps you move your torso forward. And then bend your knee over that front leg. Waffles, go around. Or balance right there. Now, here in Warrior 1, arms overhead for nice big extension. Your pet can also offer their weight. If you are practicing with tug, then you can move between extended side angle back to Warrior 2 and then back to Warrior 1, all while holding the toy, which means over here, sit, which means that as you're moving from the frontal plane, you're turning your leg in to the transversal plane. Waffles, come, treat, come. Good girl. Cat just came inside. Then you're also going to be adding resistance to that movement, further helping you to strengthen your internal rotators. And the same goes for when you're turning your leg out into warrior 2 on the other side. Waffles, good girl. You need more treats? You do need more treats? Good girl, over here. Sit. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. Make sure if you have any questions, you drop them in the comments. So we have that resistance moving through the transversal plane here. You can also get that resistance with weight, but again, it's best to ask your animal to get off until you're very comfortable moving between these two positions. Either way, if you have your animal rejoin you in warrior 1, Waffles, pause. To test your balance and offer some weight resistance, then you want to ask them to get off when you move into humble warrior. Because as you can see, if Waffles' head was down a little bit, then she would be very anxious. Down. Good girl. And we move back into warrior to make sure that we're all lengthened up and ready to balance, because the next thing I wanted to explain to you is how our animals can help us in standing balances, like warrior 3. Now for this one, I like to hold onto a counter. That way I can still access my full range of motion without worrying about losing my balance to start. And then as my leg is straightened, I can ask Waffles to rest her weight on my leg. Good girl. And I can move my leg up and down to build strength through my hip flexor while it's in that extended position. Bed. Good girl. All the way. No, I said bed. Thank you. So really, our animals are doing a lot more than just playing with us. And when we're playing animal-assisted yoga, whether that means we're playing doga with a dog or meowga with a cat, whatever we're doing, our animals have a lot of potential to really increase our gains, increase our progress towards whatever goals we're working towards. And the way that they do that is by adding resistance. And they add resistance in multiple ways. We have their weight, which is a very clear form of resistance that we're very familiar with in a gym setting. We're very familiar with adding weight resistance to exercises to improve the benefits of those exercises. But they also offer resistance in ways that are beneficial and that we don't necessarily always take advantage of in a gym setting, at least. One of those ways is very similar to how resistance bands work, where you're working against something that is pulling you in a direction opposite to where you want to go. This is more along the lines of equilibrium training, because this is something that can cause you to lose your balance. And you're strengthening, when you work with this type of resistance training, you're working to strengthen the muscles that keep you upright when your balance is being tested. So when we practice warrior 3, that's what we're doing with our ankle. We're practicing equilibrium training in this back ankle, and we're practicing weight training in our upper leg. Waffles, leg. So you see, even holding on to something, it's easy to lose your balance. Let's do the other side, honey. Come over here. Your back. Thank you. So warrior 3, Waffles leg. Good girl. And then I try to let go. And at this point of my training, I can hold in that position for even a couple seconds. When you first start, like when I first started, there's no way I could have let go of the counter without toppling over. I practically topple over while holding the counter. But when you practice more and more of these equilibrium resistance activities, then you get stronger, your ankles get stronger, you have less of a fall risk, and that decreases likelihood for injuries. Good girl. Good girl. So we can also see that very clearly when we practice tree pose together. Come over here. Waffles, go over here, please. I want to scooch the mat back and you are too heavy. Thank you. So when we practice tree pose together, then I ask Waffles to rest her paws here. And I try to maintain my balance. Good girl. And the more that you practice games like those, the more benefits you're going to see. The more you practice games like those, the more benefits that you are going to see in your own practice, in the progress that you make through your mobility training, and also in your day-to-day life. You're going to have much better balance. You're going to have much lower risk of injury, and you're going to have more day-to-day comfort because your muscles are learning how to work the way that they were intended to. Good girl. Can you give me a sit? Thank you. Does anyone have any questions so far? Good girl. Yeah. So when we are practicing hip mobility, it is really important to make sure we're moving through all 3 planes of motion, because that's the only way that we can address every single muscle. Remember, I said that there's over 21 muscles in our body. Hi, honey. Hi, I know. So in order to even touch all of those muscles, we need to be moving our hips through all 3 planes of motion. If we don't, then a lot of those deeper muscles are going to get atrophied, because our hip muscles, they're layers and layers deep, right? Okay, so for example, we have, good girl, yeah, we have the gluteus minimus that is smacked right up against the hip bone. And then we've got the gluteus medius, which is a separate muscle that stacks on top of that, kind of like crisscross a little bit. So it's not fully covered. And then you have the gluteus maximus that covers the bottom third of that one. And in between all of this, you can scooch back and you can see that, scooch down. I guess we need like a picture of a hip here in order for this to work. So we'll see if I can figure out how to come back and add a hip here, because we've got our gluteus muscles that are more towards the top of the hip. And then underneath the gluteus maximus, you've got the piriformis, and then you've got the gemellus superior, and then you've got the gemellus inferior. In order to access all of those muscles, and the iliopsoas is even deeper than all of them. And that's the one that's so important to help you lift your leg and also to support your spine. Your gluteus is your gluteus muscles, all 3 of them are going to help you to support your lower back as well. But your your psoas actually attaches to your spine, and it attaches your spine to your legs. And it kind of does that in partnership with your iliac muscle, that connects your hip to the same spot on your femur. So all of these muscles that are super crucial to help to maintain spine mobility, to help to maintain your leg mobility and your alignment in your legs, these are not muscles that we can necessarily access just by going on a walk. These are muscles that we really need to move our hips around to even activate. So when we add these movements into any given play session with our animal, then it increases our hip mobility, and it also gives us an opportunity to practice those movements in a fun atmosphere. Environment. So we create this environment of fun and play, and that programs our brain to actually be excited about moving our bodies. We spend a huge chunk of our lives learning to dread movement because we associate it with exercise, and we oftentimes look at exercise as a chore. It's something we have to do. It's not something we want to do. But when we combine that chore into a game, then we can start to reprogram our brains and make us want and crave movement through our hips. As we start to activate those deeper hip muscles in a way that's fun, in a way that builds strength and flexibility at the same time as playing a game, then our bodies start to crave movement in those specific muscles. We start to crave specific movement patterns and we start to learn how to listen to our body. And that leads to other things. Like, for example, I in my life have always hated working out. I would never pick up a weight. So why did I buy myself a set of weights? Because Waffles isn't always in the mood for play when my muscles are hungry for movement and I just want to move. I just want to play animal assisted yoga. And if she's not in the mood, that doesn't stop me anymore. That makes me want to play with something that can act as a replacement for her. Nothing could ever replace you, baby. But in the moment, it does the job. She can take a nap, and I can practice some of our animal assisted yoga games in a way that kind of still feels like a fun dance game for myself. I get those cravings out, and then she's going to want to play again later. Are there any final questions for today's class? Thank you so much for joining us. It has been so much fun exploring hip mobility with you and explaining how animal assisted yoga really helps to build mobility through your hips. And I really hope that this has inspired you to incorporate some of these movements into your play practice with your pet at home. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and we will see you next week for another lesson in animal assisted yoga. Next week, we're really going to dig into some games. We are going to teach you specific movement patterns that you can practice while you're playing with your dog, and tricks that you can teach your dog while you're in specific postures that improve your health, improve their health, reduce stress in both of you, and are really just a fun way to spend the day. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.